Well, hello, good evening, and welcome to the program. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. As Nigeria bids its final farewell to one of its consequential leaders, former President Muhammadu Buhari has been laid to rest in his hometown of Daura in Katsina State, with many emotions running deep across different parts of the country. The list of dignitaries who attended the burial arrangement, of course, is long, but against the backdrop of what Nigeria will be like without one of its most unmistakable political figures. Buhari, a man who ruled as both military head of state and a two-term elected president, leaves behind a legacy that continues to stir debate. To many, he was a symbol of discipline, sacrifice, and service. To others, a controversial figure whose policies shaped and sometimes shook the nation. Tonight on Daily Politics, we take a moment to reflect on the life, leadership, and the legacy of the Nigerian leader, from his austere political style to the imprint he left on the governance system, security, and national identity. Joining us live from Jos is one of his former ministers and closest political allies. Barrister Solomon Dalung is joining the conversation via Zoom, and with me in the studio is APC chieftain Hakeem Akintayo, who played a key role in Buhari's 2015 campaign activities. Gentlemen, good evening to both of you, and thank you so much for joining me on the program tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Right, Barrister Dalung, I don't know if you can hear me.
Loud and clear. Good evening, Nigerians.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please accept our condolences. Let's start this way. Obviously, this is the final chapter. He's been laid to rest. The entire nation watched as the state funeral unfolded in Daura. Let me first of all get your reaction to the pomp, the pageantry, and what appeared to be the final salute to someone who undoubtedly is a significant part of Nigerian history.
To me, it was a very great redefining moment. As I watched my friend, close, confident, father, mentor, and leader, President Muhammadu Buhari, lowered into his grave. Of course, it also reflected in my thought the type of person he was, because getting along with him, I have learned a lot about life, and so his funeral was not something strange to me, because in all he did, he had epitomizes this, his frugal lifestyle, his very disciplined life, principles, and love and care for the downtrodden. And then if you look at even how he lived his life, 2 times military and democratically elected president of Nigeria. But his residence in Daura speaks volumes of the type of personality he was. So Buhari is a political phenomenon that in years to come, scholars will unveil a lot about him for the Nigerian political history. Indeed, I actually will miss him. His exit also has left a great vacuum in the political landscape and even the politics of Nigeria, especially his party, the All Progressive Congress. His absence is going to leave a lot. A lot is going to happen with his exit, because Buhari was the unifying factor. Buhari was himself what was known as APC. So now that he's gone, of course, he left a very big shoe there in the family of the APC. And I don't know who will fit into it.
Yeah. We'll talk about the vacuum he has left politically and what that means for Nigeria's immediate future, especially the conversation around 2027. But let's talk about one of the obvious points that has been raised since the news of his demise became public over the weekend, which is the question of his legacy. Do you understand why he's still, even in death, such a polarizing figure?
I will begin by saying that Buhari is one of the most misunderstood political leader in the history of Nigeria. And Buhari also, as a political entity, whether in the military or in politics, fought great battles. And he fought even the battles till death. And I will take you to politics where I was a close ally. In 2018, I had a dream about his political future. And I saw him fighting alone a great army. So I went to him and I told him, I said, Your Excellency, are you going to contest 2019 elections? And he kept quiet. And I said, well, I know that you have never decided any time to contest election. It's always been people. But here is my advice. I wouldn't want you to contest 2019 elections. Rather, retire and be the Mandela of Nigeria. But if you choose to contest, you will win overwhelmingly. But the victory, you are going to fight great battle. And the battle will be so intense that if you do not calculate very well, you will lose the battle because you will be captured and reduced to a president of the villa. And anytime you hand over in 2023, on the mentioning of your name, the poor whose political capital you are will be crying that, oh, this man was a president, but he left a legacy of pains. So he asked me why. Why will they fight him? And I told him that, you see, you will be fought for 3 reasons. One, you are a son of nobody who rose to prominence in the army and became head of state. And now, the political capital of the poor, one of the most popular politicians. So those who has heritage in politics are not going to give you that breathing space. I told him the second reason is that if given the space, you will perform and you will be a political idol for the Nigerian politics. And I told him the third reason is self-inflicted, because anywhere you go, you will be saying, oh, I will fight corruption, I will fight corruption, and you did not define where the battle line is. And so because of that general pronouncement of fighting corruption, the next person standing to you is a corrupt figure. So instead of working to support you, he's going to undermine you. So after telling him this, he now said, so is it a hopeless situation? And I said, no. You can only succeed if you win election. You appoint people who believe in your philosophy and love what you love. They are the only people who will help you fight this battle, push these people backward to give you time to serve Nigeria. Unfortunately, he ended up with people who did not know him, who did not believe in what he believed. And at the end of the day, his legacies remain very controversial, as you rightly pointed out.
What happened for that pivot to happen? Buhari the candidate and Buhari the president. What happened?
You know, for me, my analysis of the personality of late President Buhari is like this. Buhari as a person, which I know, is an exceptional human being, very honest, transparent, principled, self-disciplined, and a patriot who loves Nigeria and the poor. Buhari as a president is somebody who was unable to translate his qualities into positive values to serve Nigeria. So he has done his best in the areas which he did. But being a political capital of the poor, the burden of expectation on him was very, very high. And most of those who joined him in the later part of his government did not understand this very well. So they didn't do much to help him succeed in his intention. But even in that, I know Buhari still sustained his position on the Nigerian state. No wonder he told Hajja Aisha to apologize to Nigerians because he was human and he had his mistakes, because he realized that he couldn't discharge the burden of the great mandate imposed on him by the votes and the funding of his campaign by the poor people.
And when we look back at the Buhari years, whether as a democratically elected president or as a military ruler, what do you think are the lessons that current leaders can draw from, especially considering his personality, his appeal, and then the realities of governing a country like Nigeria?
Buhari had a charming charisma, and which is also cultic, because the organic followership he built is as a result of the self-made charisma and character development of him as a person. We need leaders to emulate self-discipline. I mean, take a look at Buhari's residence. It's a very small apartment of a man who was a governor, a federal commissioner, chairman, a head of state, chairman of PTA, and two-time elected president. The house, it cannot be compared to the houses of councillors in contemporary democratic experiment. So those very positive characters should be emulated. Then Nigerian leaders must also learn from what befell his presidency, where Buhari remained incorruptible until he handed over. But yet, his government witnessed a lot of corruption-related issues under his watch. It now means that it is not enough for you to have good character traits as a leader, but you must also have the ability and the capacity to be able to translate it. And you can only translate it under our presidential system by bringing people who believe in what we believe. It's very, very important. Those who believe in what we believe, those who also believe in the country, those who had the love for the people. If this missing link is not connected, then no lesson will be learned from Buhari's presidency. And finally on this, those who would even take up appointment under such leaders in Nigeria should also be fair to them. Because if there is this disparity in terms of philosophy, principles, there is no need for you to take up an appointment and operate at parallel lines while pursuing ambition that are personal and detrimental to the very purpose for which your principle brought you to serve. And I think these lessons are meant to be learned by leaders. You also need people who are not friends, not associates, not family members, because you are going to have difficulty in trying to discipline these people if they are because of this affinity or proximity or closeness. So my take here is that from the Buhari's presidency, there are great lessons awaiting Nigerian leaders if we must move this country forward.
Obviously, a lot of people have described his legacy as one of missed opportunities, which I think you have also highlighted, a cautionary tale about how good intentions, just like you pointed, is not enough to actually get the job done. But let me pick your brains on the political landscape, because as you did say, he had something that you would consider a cult following, right? Some would even say he was Peter Obi before there was ever a Peter Obi, because of the political support that he has garnered from 2003 up until 2019, which was the last time he contested, for the re-election. Let's talk about that vacuum, and if, in your view, there is someone who can actually fill it, not just for the APC, but in the country at large.
Buhari was a unifying factor first in Nigeria. And this will take me to how I met Buhari. Buhari will always tell people that of all the people around him, I was the only person he went out of his way to invite to come and work with him. I didn't know him from Adam. It was Buhari who picked his phone some 15 years ago to call me and said, well, he was wishing me happy Christmas. That was around 12 noon when I was coming back from church on a Christmas day. And he repeated it again the following year. And on the third year, he repeated it. Then I had a self-reflection, because hitherto I had this opinion that Buhari was a religious bigot. So I now started reflecting. I mean, how would somebody who was a bigot will be calling me 3 consecutive years on Christmas Day, wishing me happy Christmas? So I told myself, I'm just a slave of stereotype. This man isn't what I thought. So after the third year, he now called me and invited me to come and join him in the struggle to change Nigeria. And so when I met him one-on-one, the first thing he started telling me was that, Comrade Solomon Dalung, I know you very well. You are a man with a very toxic tongue. You don't spare anybody. I want us to covenant. These were his words. I want us to covenant from today that you will not spare anybody and you will not even spare me. Anytime I aid, please don't spare me. I also covenanted that I was not going to spare him. And in all our relationship would lead President Muhammadu Buhari to the 13th of July. I did not spare him, whether in government or out of government. And even in death, I will not spare President Muhammadu Buhari, because it was a covenant we had with him. I will always defend his positive legacies and areas that deserve beaming the searchlight. I will beam, because I promised him that. And I didn't have the opportunity to tell him that we should covenant before he died. So I will continue even after long he has gone. Now about the vacuum. Buhari's exit is a great loss to this country, and a lot is going to happen after him. Buhari was APC. It was Buhari's cult leadership and charisma that brought victory to APC. Even in 2015, Buhari brought his consistent, notorious, and natural vote of 12 million. The whole merger of three political parties with the big names, the glory claimers and glory seekers, and all the people who have been beating their chest, they brought just 3 million. So Buhari was APC. With the exit of Buhari, a unifying factor in APC had gone. And that vacuum, there is nobody now, to the best of my knowledge, as a founding member of APC that has the character of tolerating, accommodating, and maintaining this relationship. So there's going to be a lot that will happen in the APC. In the country, Buhari was a detribalized leader. He was even a man who was a patriot who believed in Nigeria. Buhari loved people of opposite religion, especially the Christians. Unfortunately, Buhari's legacy is painted with this bigotry that Buhari was a religious bigot. Now, throughout my knowledge and relationship with Buhari, while in government, all those working with him who are Christians will always be asked on Sundays not to come to work, and during Christmas and Easter, Buhari will also ask them not to come to work. Buhari has a chunk of Christian staff working with him. I know somebody from my place who had been working with Buhari. At 2015, they have been 15 years with him, and he is a Christian. My association with Buhari, he had never any day indicated to me, taken a decision, or pointed anything to me to suggest that he is treating me differently because of my faith. Rather, Buhari loved me so much. Buhari showed me love that even my parents do not show me. One of the greatest crises I have with Buhari is because of the love he has for me, because so many believe that it was not ordinary. And so I think that Nigeria will miss him greatly, and so many Christians who work with him will also state these things as I have stated. Unfortunately, Buhari died vilified as a religious bigot, as an ethnic chauvinist. Meanwhile, under his watch, he couldn't even protect his own people, the Fulanis. And because the emergence of banditry under his watch was not tackled, Nigerians believe that being a Fulani and the banditry has a preponderance of many Fulani elements, he masterminded it. But sadly for Buhari, a Fulani man cannot even speak Fulani. Buhari speaks Hausa. I don't think Buhari can speak Fulani more than 2 or 3 words. So, Buhari was a fantastic personality that was very misunderstood, and much about his personal attribute could not translate into public life so that Nigerians could have benefited from it. So it will remain a narrative we'll be pushing. Those of us who had the opportunity work with him closely.
Right. And how much of a burden is that, barrister, to be in a position where you feel this need to enlighten people who you think are misinformed about what he believes in or what he fought for as president of this country?
It's a very great burden that some of us have been facing, but because we shared most of his attributes, personal attributes, and so we believe, for me, like I believe it's a cross I will have to carry, to try and defend those things that are positive about him, and to also present to Nigerians his shortcomings. Right. When I met with Buhari on the 20th, and that was the first time, the last time I saw him, 20th of March 2020, when I left office, things started getting very bad. The security situation was deteriorating. Kidnappings were on the increase. Meanwhile, in 2019, I campaigned for him by road. I spent 2 days in Buhari as a sitting minister. But shortly after 2019 to August and December, the situation has degenerated. So when I met him in March, I reviewed the situation with him. And let me put this on record. Though I was not surprised because I knew Buhari was not in connection with what was happening. So everything I told him was very strange. So I asked him whether he was aware that as at March 2020, traveling from Abuja to Kaduna, if you were a Muslim, you need 2 additional rakats to go to Kaduna. And if you were a Christian, you have to fast for 2 days before you go to Kaduna. Then he asked me why. I said, because bandits will kidnap you. He said, was it as bad as that? I said, worse than that. Then I told him the story of how my cousin's daughter was kidnapped right inside us by armed people. And I told him that, look, if he was in doubt to what I was telling him about the situation, let him call the brigade, the brigade of guards commander, and roll up the brigade of guards. I will accompany him by road to Daura, and I assured him that bandits will attack us. Shortly after that, he traveled to Daura. On arriving Daura, by 5 few hours later, 2 hours later, over 300 girls or students were kidnapped in his neighborhood. His convoy on his way back in the same casino were attacked. So after all this, Buhari now told me, Che Guevara, I said, God bless the Daura-born general, the anti-corruption czar. He said, please, always find time to come and update me on the situation in the country. Right. And I told him, who will allow me to come and see you? Then he became very angry. He said, why would I be saying this? I mean, I cannot see you. I said, I can't see you. So he called his courtiers and told them, look, you don't have the right to give this man appointment to see me. Anytime he wants to see me, just let me know, I'll give him an appointment. That was the last time I saw Buhari before he died. When he left office, I went to Daura to see him. And I sent messages ahead that I was coming. I arrived, Daura, spent the night. The following day, I went to Buhari's house and I was told that he has gone to the farm, so I didn't see him. That was the last time I saw him. So what does this portend? it portends or corroborates this issue of cabal in Nigerian presidency.
Right.
A group of people who do not believe in the philosophy of a leader, who do not think like the leader, who do not even share the principle of the leader, manages the leader. So they determine what he will hear, they will determine who will see him, they determine who he will relate with. And that was the situation that led to these controversial legacies we are discussing today of led President Muhammadu Buhari, the Daura-born general, and then the anti-corruption czar.
As you did say, a lot of lessons to be learned by current leaders and indeed future leaders about what not to do when you get the opportunity to lead this country. I bet a lot of people will be looking forward to your own memoir. I suppose the Buhari stories would make 1 or 2 chapters. Barrister Solomon Dalung, thank you so much for providing us with this insight. I appreciate you very much for joining us on Daily Politics.
Well, thank you. I'm also putting up my own story, and I think that's a lot because I need to highlight some of the things that happened behind the curtains,
right?
Which Nigerians do not know, and which has also shaped the opinions that is formed about the legacies of late President Muhammadu Buhari. May Al-Jannah to Firdausi be his final abode.
Amen to that. Thank you so much, Barrister. Appreciate you very much for joining us on Daily Politics. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment. Mr. Akintara is still here in the studio to provide us with another side of the story, looking at the politics, looking at influence, as well as impact on Nigeria's democracy. Join us after the break.